Hi everyone, my name is Simon Mishevich from Optimize Accountants. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can pay 0% stamp duty land tax on a property that you buy. How? Well, let's go through that detail right now. So let's get into the detail. But by the way, if you're thinking about using this strategy or you've used this strategy, but you're not sure if it works anymore, then feel free to book a call with us and use the code YouTube15 to get a 15% discount on all of the tax calls. If you're looking for a new property tax accountant, then feel free to use that QR code and book a call with our customer service manager. There is a stamp duty land tax calculator, so if you're wondering how much you will have to pay when buying a property, feel free to use our free online tax calculator. You can get the link in the description box below. And again, if you need some tax advice, use the QR code. There is a detailed length article, if you like, or narrative from HMRC, talk about stamp duty land tax. There's several pages of it, can be quite complex. So I'm going to show you with just the basic snippets of what is important in regards to paying nada stamp duty land tax. Again, if you do need a mortgage broker, then feel free to use that QR code and the link will be in the box below. Okay, so we're going to be talking about residential rates and non-residential rates of stamp duty land tax. So residential rates, if you're buying a buy-to-let property or a home, then these are the rates that you have to pay. You'll see the bandings go up there from 0 to 12%. There could be the 3% surcharge, which is if you buy a property, it's your second property, or you're buying a property inside a limited company, you will have to pay the 3%. And if you're a foreigner from another country buying UK property, you also have to pay the 2%. Bear in mind that both the 3% and 2% are refundable. So if you've had to pay it, but your circumstances have changed, you can get a refund and we can help you with that as well. So feel free to take a snapshot of this screen or write it down for future reference. Now, when is stamp duty land tax paid? This is really an important point. So this is when you're buying a property, you have to pay stamp duty land tax. Gifting a property, is it paid? Well, actually, if you're gifting a property, it's not paid. So that is always a key thing to think about here. If you're having a property, you're gifting to someone else, it's not payable. Why? Because it is not money's consideration. Okay, so the only time stamp duty land tax is going to be payable is when money consideration is given over. Money consideration, by the way, why am I using the word consideration? That's bizarre phraseology, right? But money consideration is something like where it could be money that you've paid over. It could be a mortgage that you've raised to pay off that person, or you've agreed to pay off that other person's mortgage. Okay, so there is some money mechanism going on, and that is when stamp duty land tax will be payable, but not so on a true gift, okay, where no money's been exchanged. Option agreements. When do you pay stamp duty land tax? And actually, what is this all about? What is on option? How do we pay 0 stamp duty land tax? Tell me more, tell me more. I'm going to, funny enough. So what is an option agreement? An agreement to buy property in the future at a price agreed now. So I might say to you, look, I know that house prices may suffer. How about I buy your property now at £250,000 and I will buy it in 5 years' time. Okay, so that is an agreement that you have. It's legally binding. You could not now sell that property. I might put a kind of a block on the land registry to prevent that house being sold to anyone else but me now, because I have this option agreement. No stamp duty to land tax is payable on the creation of an option agreement. None at all. If you're saying to someone, I'm going to be buying your property in the future, and you might pay £100, £1,000, then there's no actual stamp duty to land tax payable because there's no further consideration. It is something that will happen in the future. Right? Right. Or is it? And that is the question. I want to really think about this, and that's why I wanted a dramatic pause. I'm not sure it really worked, but let's just bear with me on this one. Options and stamp duty land tax. This is, in this type of case, the date of substantial performance is the effective date in accordance with the Finance Act 2003, Section 2044, and Finance Act 33/44/3, and blah, 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 right? I'm not going to get into that. Broadly, substantial performance is the point at which any payment of rent is made, right? So what we're saying now is you've agreed to buy a property in the future, but you've now taken charge of that property and you've collected rent. That is substantial performance. And that's when stamp duty land tax really does come into its own. You do need to now pay stamp duty land tax. Payment of most consideration of others other than rent is made. So you might have said, well, I'm going to pay you £1,000, £10,000. You might need to think about, well, actually, I might be renting the property off this person, but now I'm collecting money. That's an option agreement. I might have paid you 10, 20, 30,000 pounds, which is excessively more than the rent you'll normally pay. And that is another trigger point for stamp duty land tax. The purchaser is entitled to possession of the subject matter of the transaction. So the option agreement is not just, I'm going to be buying your property in 5 years. The option agreement is there. I'm now walking away. You carry on living your life as normal. No, no, no. In this regard, the third point, the purchaser is entitled to possession. I'm entering an option agreement with you. I'm going to take possession of the property and I'm going to either live in it or I'm going to rent it out. That is substantial performance. Stamp duty land tax, therefore, is chargeable. Talks about it again. If a person is allowed into possession for fitting out purposes, this will represent substantial performance. As we just mentioned, see stamp duty land tax, blah, blah, blah. As the purchaser has been taken possession of the premises, also, these works will trigger the first payment of rent, which again will amount to substantial performance under that act. Again, you've done the work, now you're renting the property out. It is substantial performance. Stamp duty land tax is chargeable. Many educators out there say that stamp duty land tax is not chargeable on options. Wrong. Wrong. So please just be careful when you get educators that they take the surface of tax, but they really do not understand the legislation in detail enough to understand that there are trips. HMRC have written their legislation in a variety of ways, but unless you understand the full context, it can trip you up and you'll end up having a tax charge against you. This is a tax court case in 2022, so pretty recent, enough for us to think, oh, what's going on here? The taxpayer here entered into a property purchase using an option scheme in intent to avoid stamp duty and land tax. Okay. It's accepted following extensive litigation in this and related cases that the scheme was ineffective and that stamp duty land tax was payable. The completion of the VF agreement and stamp duty land tax of 250,000 was due on relation to that form. So they had entered agreement that's going to do some sort of rental agreement, take over possession of the property, and therefore stamp duty land tax. There is a court case there. So if your educator says, no, what's he talking about? It's not payable. Feel free to take this screenshot, send it to them. Okay, because there's a lot of educators, property educators, that think that this is just a myth. It's a recent court case, 2022. Feel free to use it and make sure that you do not follow suit and try and get stamp duty land tax for free using option agreements when you will get punished by HMRC for doing so.